Hello, hello, hello. Jordan Sheridan, Status Coup. I don't even know what day. Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Hope everybody's having a good day. Colin, if you don't mind, in the description, also putting the link for the Substack story at the top so people could read along. I will wait till we get the text message sent out. I will wait till we have more viewers. I'm not feeling so well, which I will explain in a little bit. But we did break juicy story earlier today, which kind of is a continuation of a lot of the reporting we've been doing over the last couple months on Amazon and their union busting, of course, on Starbucks, which we were just in Buffalo covering there. I mean, union busting times 10, what Starbucks is doing. Let me wait till more people come in so I don't have to explain things too many times. Smash that like button, share this live stream. Sharing is caring. I am going live earlier than I normally do because I don't feel well, which I'm going to explain as we get more people in here. But I didn't want to have, a full week without live streams because we got to keep the lights on here. So I am going live despite being sick, which I'm going to get to in a bit. Site says text will take a minute. Okay. So for some reason our text message is delayed. So please share this live stream. Please hit that like button right under the video. Post on your own social media that we're live. All those good things. I guess I could repeat it when more people come in, but I got the third. I got the third booster yesterday, and I'm not at all interested in a vaccine fight. So if there's any anti-vaxxers who want to start with me, I don't have the brain capacity for it today. But I got my third booster yesterday. I was actually able to get the booster because getting COVID last year actually gave me a bad case of asthma. I never had asthma before I got COVID. And I guess as a long-term symptom, it gave me asthma. I've been kind of coughing on and off for months, starting last winter. I mean, I got COVID in April 2020. So after the worst of COVID, I didn't really have any symptoms. But then all of a sudden in the winter, I started coughing a lot. So I went to a pulmonologist, told me I had something reactive cough, which is a type of asthma. Could be from COVID and the lung inflammation because I was coughing my brains out while I had COVID. But you're able to get the third booster. I guess it could change soon. They're talking about announcing all ages being eligible, but I was able to get it before all ages are eligible because asthma is one of the immunocompromised conditions. So I got it yesterday. Interestingly enough, yesterday I felt fine after I got it. I got it around, I think I got it at 4:45 in the afternoon. My arm was a little sore, but I didn't feel sick. And then this morning I woke up feeling like shit. But I was almost done with this story that we're about to get into that we broke today. So I didn't want to delay getting the story out there or delay going live to talk about the story. So that's why I'm live early. That's why I don't look well. I don't feel well because obviously from the booster, you'll get kind of symptoms of some type of like flu-like symptoms the day or the next day. So that's what I have. That's what I have right now. So this isn't going to be the longest live stream, but we'll do our best. And also, interestingly enough, it's always the case when Amazon is in the headline. It's quite interesting. When Amazon is in the headline, for some reason, the views aren't good. It's almost like YouTube has like buzzwords that if you put them in a headline, they throttle a channel and don't, they don't, share the streams or recommend the streams. So very, very interesting that we have a big story on Amazon union busting, and we got audio. We obtained audio from one of Amazon's union busting sessions, but the views are pretty low. Very interesting. Jack, if you're healthy, the risk reward of a 1% absolute risk reduction of the needle, probably not worth it. You know, my thing also about this COVID thing, and I'm not going to dwell on it, and the vaccine is, it's kind of like voter shaming. Like, mind your own business. Like, I don't understand why people feel the need to lecture people like, oh, you don't get the vaccine, you don't need it, or don't get the booster, you don't need it. I don't really get that idea of lecturing people based on whatever your perception is on vaccines or COVID. Lecturing people, it's a very small risk of getting it. You don't need to get the vaccine. Everybody's got a choice. I mean, I think people should get vaccinated. I've lost viewers for saying that. I don't really care. If anti-vax people don't want to support us, so be it. I don't believe in a full-on government mandate that you must. I don't believe in that, but I do believe I've looked into the data and the science enough that it is, it severely protects you. Wrong term. It extremely protects you from hospitalization or death if you get vaccinated. So yeah, I kind of, I just do my own thing. I don't think people should be lecturing. As far as the unvaccinated, I mean, at the end of the day, people know how I feel. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. I think it's a poor one, but that's up to you. But I'm not, here to really get into that. But I just wanted to explain, if I seem off, it's because I got the booster yesterday, and I'm feeling symptoms from it. Double K, holy cow, $100 in the super chat, getting us started. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Really kind super chat. Yeah, let's definitely get some super chats. I broke a story earlier today that we're going to get into. So we're doing the investigative journalism right after we did the on-the-ground reporting. If you've been following, we were just on the road for 2 weeks covering the John Deere strikes, which, if you've been living under a rock, last night, after 35 days on strike, John Deere workers agreed to a new contract with the company. Part of that new contract was, I believe, an $8,500 bonus instantly. So that's pretty decent money, $8,500, 10% wage increase, and I believe another 10% wage increase in a year or two, and also some more rigid protections for pensions and healthcare benefits. So that's what happens when workers fight. But remember, because we're going to talk about Amazon's union busting today. Remember, John Deere was able to strike. Those 10,000 workers, and we were on the ground covering it, and you supported us covering it in Iowa, in Illinois. Those workers were able to strike because they had a union. That's very, very important. So that's why when we look at Amazon workers, when we look at Starbucks workers, it hasn't gotten as much attention, the actual union drives, as the strikes. But the union drives are just as important, because the more we are unionized, the more workers can fight back effectively. Because as John Deere workers just showed you, as the Starbucks workers are showing you, as Frito-Lay, Nabisco, the healthcare workers that were on strike in Mercy Hospital, we covered that on the ground. All these workers are showing you is workers actually have leverage, and they're finally using it. And these companies, they kind of SOL if workers go on strike for a certain amount of time. I mean, John Deere was literally using salaried employees that barely know how to drive, that don't have any training on machinery, building machines, driving machines. I mean, right when they first started, there was an incident where a salaried employee who is not trained crashed a tractor in the factory. So, I know we're all fed up with DC. We're fed up with essentially this new Gilded Age we're living in. I'm fed up with the so-called progressives in Congress, folding like cheap tents, not fighting the way I think they should fight. I'm fed up with that too. So that's why we're focusing a lot on outside electoral politics things as well. Jordan is live early today. Shame I have to watch via mobile. Yes, as I was explaining, I'm live early today. I don't feel well. Got the COVID booster yesterday, which I was eligible early because I have bad asthma because of COVID, unfortunately. It's just like one of those long-term symptoms. I never had asthma before I got COVID, and I now have asthma. Fortunately, I haven't been coughing in the last few weeks, but the cough has really been on and off for the last 6 months. My doctor says it's due to COVID and lung inflammation and all that. So I was able to get the booster. I don't really feel terrific. I was thinking about not going live, but we haven't been live all week, so I wanted to go live. So with that said, smash that like button. We got 100 people watching. As I said, any stream where Amazon is in the headline, for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't seem to share that or recommend us or anything. So definitely, please share this live stream. Please, hold on. Please share this live stream. Please, press the like button, all that good stuff. So I'm not going to get into details, but Amazon recently, the workers that are trying to unionize at the Staten Island warehouse, which, Bessemer, Alabama, workers unsuccessfully tried to unionize down there earlier this year. That election in Alabama was just riddled with fraud, in my view, illegal behavior by Amazon. So Amazon New York workers in Staten Island, which is like this warehouse, if you don't know, is like the size of 15 football fields. It's that big. It takes up a full-on block in Staten Island, in New York City. I've been there several times. Status Coup has gone live from there several times. We've interviewed workers, and the horror stories that they have told about their work experience at Amazon is quite different than all the feel-good, lovey-dovey rainbows and sunshine commercials Amazon does, because Amazon spends a whole lot of money on public relations and putting out this wonderful image of, the direct relationship between Amazon and its associates. They like to use the term associates, just like Starbucks likes to use the term partners. So Amazon, the workers at Amazon, known as Amazon Labor Union. That is the group that is trying to form a union. It's a group of workers. They recently filed with the National Labor Relations Board to hold a union election. Unfortunately, the National Labor Relations Board rejected it, saying that they didn't have enough signatures. To be clear, they presented the Amazon Labor Union, and Christian Smalls is one of the leaders. Other current workers are one of the leaders of Amazon Labor Union. They presented over 2,000 signatures from current workers expressing support for a union. But what happened, according to Christian Smalls and others I've spoken with, is essentially Amazon fired a lot of the workers who had signed on to pro-union. So technically, even though they had a hell of a lot of signatures, a lot of those signatures, the workers no longer work there because Amazon fired them, which to me is borderline illegal. Why are these workers that signed on for union cards, signed their support for holding a union election, and this would be the first unionized Amazon workforce in America? Why is that? That's interesting, right? So Christian Smalls, some other folks I said they're working behind the scenes to resubmit really quickly, blah, 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 blah. According to them, it's not fatal, and they are still resubmitting. But after, and this was about a week ago, I believe, a little over a week ago, that the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, rejected the Amazon workers' petition to hold a union election. All of a sudden, Amazon started holding mandatory daily, what they call peak training sessions. Mandatory daily peak training sessions. And actually, Vice News, credit to them, they obtained audio from one a week ago today. So one from last Thursday, and they published that on Vice News. In our Substack story, I'd link to the Vice News story because they had audio of one of the union busting meetings too. But Status Coup obtained audio from a meeting the next day, Friday, November 12th. And what I'm told from workers I spoke with, there's a couple dozen workers usually in these mandatory meetings. Workers I spoke with said there are several of these meetings per day. So you have several meetings. They go over a half hour where it starts out kind of friendly with employee relations officials. In the audio we obtained, those employee relations officials, one was from Chicago. So Amazon is bringing in out-of-state employee relations officials to hold these union busting meetings. And in these meetings, they start off, Colin, let's start off with the audio where the employee relations official, i.e. the HR official, starts immediately getting into what, let me get the exact wording so you know where to look. Hold on. Who is ALU and what is ALU asking you to sign if they approach you?
This one we're going to talk about Amazon and third parties. So we have an amazing report because of you. And our direct relationship with the social life has been a key factor with ALU. And what ALU asks you to sign, if they approach you, direct conversation is more efficient and effective. So you tell the management, they hear you, and then you take action. Yeah, the last one I want to touch base on the open door policy.
So understandably, this audio is not terrific. There are parts of it that are better than others, but I'm just going to describe it because I listened very closely. It's over a half hour. I listened to the whole thing twice. So you might not be able to make out everything in the story, and that's in the description of this YouTube video. So we have the Substack piece right under the YouTube video. You could read along because I direct quote it. But immediately they start off with the who is ALU and what exactly are they asking you to sign? So right off the bat, you could tell, wait, they described this meeting as peak training meetings. But it seems right off the bat, what they want to train you on is that boogeyman, the Amazon labor union, i.e. workers trying to form a union. So it's union busting 101. It's mandatory. You have to go. And I can tell you, having covered Amazon on the ground in Staten Island, these are for the most part, a lot of young workers, 18 to 25. There's obviously older workers too. But when people start coming off that bus, you see a lot of young people that are working in Amazon. So this is, these kind of sessions could be intimidating. They could be confusing. There's a lot of propaganda being fed to a mostly younger workforce. Frankly, a black and brown workforce, a lot of black and brown individuals who desperately want to keep their job. And Amazon, like Starbucks and others, they play the game of trying to instill fear and threats of this scary union. So we're going to play more audio clips, but I want to read from the Substack piece. And again, we broke this earlier today. If you don't know, Status Coup is on Substack. It's called Status Substack. You could sign up as a free member where, for certain articles like this one, it's for free Status Substack members. Certain articles and commentary pieces will be for paid members. But we try to do as much as we can for free because obviously not everybody could afford a Status Coup membership and a Status Substack. But we're trying to reach new audiences. So definitely sign up for Status Substack. Even if you can't sign up for the $5 paid, you can sign up as a free member. So let me start here on this article and we'll kind of come in and out. And I'll probably, Colin, ask you to just play some of the audio as I'm going through it, which probably makes the most sense. And keep smashing that like button. Keep sharing this live stream. As you see, we are suppressed. And every time we do a live stream on YouTube, every time we do a live stream that has Amazon in the headline, forget it. YouTube buries it. I wonder why. Isn't that interesting? So, headline, pure lies. Leaked audio of Amazon union busting meeting shows HR officials pushing workers against unionizing. Status Coup obtained audio that drops the curtain on one of the mandatory daily anti-union meetings Amazon has been holding at the JFK 8 Staten Island warehouse where workers are trying to unionize. So, Status Coup has obtained audio of a contentious anti-union meeting held at Amazon's JFK 8 Staten Island warehouse on November 12th, in which two company HR officials pushed anti-union messaging in an attempt to convince workers not to sign up to form a union at the massive New York warehouse, for which workers began a union drive earlier this year. The 31-minute recording is at the bottom of this story. And just to be clear, the audio is not terrific. I think you could make out a lot of it. There's certain parts it's hard to understand, but there are quite a few parts. There are a lot of parts that are easy to understand. Who is ALU and what is ALU asking you to sign if they approach you, which is the audio we just played. Dan Tan, whose LinkedIn lists himself as a Chicago-based Amazon employee relations official, said at the start of the peak training meeting about Amazon labor union, ALU, the group of Amazon workers at JFK 8 who have been organizing to form a union at Amazon for months. Quote, directly working together is the best way to improve everything, Tan said, pushing a common anti-union talking point that glorifies the, quote, direct working relationship between employers and employees that would be supposedly harmed if workers unionize. So, quote, direct conversation is more effective and more efficient and effective. Tan added about the importance of Amazon's one-on-one relationship with employees. So this is not just Amazon. This is what Starbucks is doing. This is what a whole lot of big corporate Goliaths filled with vultures like Jeff Bezos and Howard Schultz and all of them, they want to push this propaganda that, no, we don't want this, quote, third party who's going to make you pay dues and could fine you and is going to get in the middle of our wonderful direct relationship that we have. Well, common sense. If the relationship was so wonderful and direct, do you think these workers would be trying to form a union? And, for new Status Coup audience, because we've grown over the last few weeks, I want to play just remind you what these workers, why they're unionizing. Colin, if you could play that clip, starting with the guy in the red shirt there.
Workers here today, the workers inside the building that's on the clock that, they're working, that's supporting. That's what's going to make or break this drive. Day or night, early morning, I know there's been sleepless nights. 3 a.m.s, we've been out here, 4 a.m.s, 5 a.m.s, till sometimes 8, 9 p.m. at night. Sometimes I come back at midnight. And I'm proud to say that we got over 1,000 workers signed up for this union. And nobody don't believe that we was going to even get to an election. I can tell you now, that's why media's not here, the mainstream media. They don't believe that we gonna even get to an election. I know you did. Jordan, look, you don't count, bro. You everywhere. This man is everywhere, literally. The media is one thing, but once again, the revolution won't be televised, right? That's the saying, right? And it's true.
We need to be able to negotiate our pay, our benefits, our working conditions, because without us, none of this could exist. None of this would be here if it wasn't for all the workers that come in and keep this operation running. A lot of them know how Amazon works better than the managers. The problem is Amazon, they don't want to change. They made that clear. They'll pretend, they'll make a show out of, listening to us. They'll say, oh, we have an open door policy. You can post on the Voice of the Associate Board, come to us with any concern, and we do. And when we ask to change something, the answer is always no. If we ask them to do something that requires spending money but would make our lives better, safer, more dignified, the answer is always no.
When they fired Chris for protesting, when they gave me a final write-up for protesting on my day off, they fired my brother Jerry. They fired everyone who spoke out against the conditions in this facility. Amazon tried to sweep COVID under the rug. They thought COVID didn't exist. According to them, we were the ones who stood up and said, you know what? It's not enough. We matter. Our voices matter. And you're going to treat everybody with respect, period. We're not having that. They trying to kick us to the curb, but we're not about to just get kicked to the curb. We are the heart and soul of Amazon, period. The frontline workers got treated with disrespect the entire pandemic, and we tired of it.
That's right. Talk about it. That's right.
This is why we taking the stand. Jeff Bezos knows it. He told everybody, he told all the management, he said, make sure you start that union busting quick. These guys are good. After that first week, they tried to put this fence up here, treat us like animals, because that's what they think of us. They think we animals. They think we caged animals. But we're not.
Every time when I'm riding that bus, because I don't drive, when I'm riding that bus, I see the same people that ride the bus with me that go inside the warehouse. They look all depressed, like, damn, another day, we on our feet for 20, 30, 100 hours. Like, I feel like, no, I need to be the person to make a change, like, because there's so much crisis going on through the world. Especially, there's been so much atrocities going on in that warehouse, like, it's time to let this revolution be televised. Like,
I don't take it lightly. I don't take that trust lightly. To be able to stand here today in solidarity with you all. And it's true, I'm running for Congress here to fight for workers, to fight for working class people in Staten Island and Brooklyn. But I'm not here because I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress because I grew up in a working class family where my parents worked multiple jobs, worked themselves into the hospital, worked until we could still barely put food on the table half the time. We could still barely keep our housing. And that's not right.
Bezos is watching us, and yet he looks down upon us. He hates the working class. There's contempt for the working class. And that's why he bought out the Washington Post, so that he who controls the source of information controls all the power, controls the narrative. Wealth and income inequality is at an all-time high. Why is it that 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of Americans combined? You're not going to hear that on CNN, Fox, MSNBC. And guess what? Jeff Bezos gave tens of millions of dollars to Van Jones, a CNN host. Why? To cover up for him.
You know, today is a milestone for us, and we're hoping once we get to that point to become an established union that they return the favor. You know, when we have time, when we have that time and the opportunity to go on strike, we're going to need all the support we can. You know, this company is not going to negotiate a contract with us with ease, and we know that.
I'm all for the union, but my sister was and is the first person that worked at Amazon that was COVID testing that has died. When I reached out to Amazon and asked them for help, for money, for funeral, for autopsy, they told me they would get back to me. No one ever got back to me. It wasn't until 6 weeks later, I was doing an interview with Jordan, and they called us on the phone, and my mom called them after being hanged up 4 times to figure out what as far as if we had anything, if my sister had anything, and they told us that they could not give us that information. After Jordan went live, while we were on the phone with Amazon, the next day, it wasn't even 48 hours, Amazon reached out and said, we heard what happened to your sister.
So that's just some of this wonderful direct relationship. And by the way, she was talking about me, Jordan. That's Christina Brown. She's the sister of Pashawn Brown. Disgustingly and horribly, the media has buried this incredibly scandalous story, which we broke in January. Pashawn Brown was a 38-year-old woman. I'm going to try not to get too crazy and pissed off because I'm sick. If you came to this late, I got the COVID booster yesterday and I don't feel well. Pashawn Brown was a 38-year-old woman working at an Amazon warehouse in Virginia. Okay? Amazon had her and several other workers literally doing the COVID nasal swabs on coworkers all day, every day for months. She wasn't a nurse, not a doctor. Amazon did not give her full-on N95 masks, full-on gowns, shields. The room that the Amazon had, Pashawn and a few others conducting the COVID test was very small. I released video of that when we broke it in January. There were no shields or anything, plexiglass, whatever, nothing. To be clear, we don't know how she died. Christina, again, 38, went home one night on a Thursday night. Pashawn went home on a Thursday night, told her sister, I have a real bad headache. I'm going to bed early. Friday morning, Pashawn woke up, still not feeling well. She made her daughter breakfast, 12-year-old daughter. I think she's 13 now. Made her breakfast. Pashawn went back to sleep. Died in her sleep. Amazon would not help the family with an autopsy. Let me repeat. Amazon would not help the family with an autopsy. I wonder why. Maybe they didn't want to see what Pashawn died of. Amazon would not answer any questions I had on the record. They tried to get me to talk off the record. I told them, hell no. They tried to get me to talk on background, which in journalism terms you could use the information, but you can't cite who it's from. So I'd be able to use the information and say a source close to Amazon. I said, no, you either answer me on the record or you don't answer. Why wouldn't they want to answer me on the record? Well, I could give you a few reasons. If a massive $1 trillion company like Amazon, for some ungodly reason, I mean, they sure could afford to hire nurses and doctors, they could probably open up a whole goddamn lab at every warehouse and hire professionals to do COVID testing daily. Well, they probably don't want to give an on-the-record statement and be on the record because probably opens you up to legal liability, doesn't it? I know for a fact a CNBC reporter reached out to them who covers Amazon. Amazon spun her, and she went public and basically said what I was reporting wasn't true. Why? Because she's a lazy stenographer who didn't. And then she apologized to Christina, Pashon's sister, afterwards for doing that. But the reality is, almost a year later, there is still no media coverage about Pashon Brown, a 38-year-old Black woman, a single mother. No media coverage why Amazon had her and others administering COVID nasal swabs, why they did not provide her with the proper PPE, N95 mask, shields, gowns, all of that, why Amazon did not have trained nurses and doctors doing this, and why did Amazon not help the family with an autopsy? The only thing Amazon did was provide 2 months of counseling for Pashon's 12-year-old daughter. You know what might have helped Pashon through this situation? And she can't speak for herself now, obviously. You know what might have helped her? Being part of a union. Having a union to go to complain and to ask for help with the fact that Amazon was having her and other coworkers administering COVID tests. And Amazon lied about it. They pretended that wasn't the case. I spoke with enough sources. I saw a video, and Amazon seems to want to go with Pashon's sister, Christina Brown, and Pashon's mother are lying. That somehow Pashon did not tell her sister daily about her administering COVID tests. Somehow Pashon did not tell her, FaceTime her sister while at Amazon in between administering COVID tests. This is the kind of great direct relationship Amazon has with their employees. And by the way, that's just one video. There's a whole lot of other videos we've done interviewing Amazon workers. We're going to play some other ones too. So getting back to the story, and keep sharing this live stream, smash the like button. I'm playing a little hurt. I don't feel well because I got the COVID shot yesterday. So I'm going to go as long as I can. I feel a little fluish or whatever from the shot. Colin, if we can get back to the story. According to multiple workers Status Coup spoke with, Amazon began holding these mandatory sessions led mostly by out-of-state HR officials like Dan Tan. Again, Amazon began holding daily mandatory, quote, peak training meetings last week. It just so happens after Amazon workers submitted to hold it with the NLRB to hold a union election. That's when Amazon decided to do these daily what they call in organized labor captive audience meetings, which are union busting sessions. That's all they are. On a daily basis at JFK last week, seemingly for the purpose of pushing workers not to sign on to the unionization campaign launched by the worker-led ALU. Among organized labor experts, these anti-union meetings are known as captive audience meetings and are meant to intimidate and confuse workers about forming a union. The decision by Amazon to hold the mandatory daily union busting sessions is a reaction to ALU, again, the group of workers who are trying to form a union, recently filing to hold a union election with the National Labor Relations Board. Connor Spence, a worker and a member of ALU, told Status Coup, quote, "We filed and there is a lot of pro-union sentiment," Spence told us. Spence pointed out that Amazon is also holding these anti-union sessions to collect polling data about worker sentiment on the union, which, according to Spence, is an unlawful polling effort that ALU has already filed charges against Amazon for with the National Labor Relations Board. Quote, "They are using these meetings as a way to gather data by monitoring how workers speak out and what kind of questions they ask," Spence told Status Coup. However, I think we've been so disruptive in these meetings that they haven't got much useful data. Amazon did not respond to questions about this accusation or this meeting that we obtained audio from. Responding to Vice, because like I said at the beginning of this story, this live stream, Vice published a separate union busting meeting that was held the day before the meeting that Status Coup obtained audio from. So Vice got a meeting from November 11th. We got a meeting from November 12th. So Thursday, we got last Friday. Responding to Vice, who published the audio from a similar anti-union meeting held on November 11th, a company spokesperson said, "We regularly hold meetings with our employees as our focus remains on listening directly to them and continuously improving on their behalf. It's our employees' choice whether or not to join a union. It always has been." Well, at the bottom of this Substack story, and by the way, like I said, sign up for Status Coup Substack. You could sign up as a free Status Coup Substack member where you get stories that we put out for free. You could also sign up as a paid member. That's $5 a month. And some stories will just be for paid members. But you can get certain stories like this one just for free. And investigative stories like this, we tend to make free for everyone because we don't want to put behind a paywall important investigative reporting. So definitely, if you're not signed up yet, the link to this story is in the description of this YouTube live stream, and you could sign up once you click on the Substack there. In the November 12th anti-union meeting, Mike, who opened the meeting identifying himself as an employee relations official, and a worker who identified as part of the ALU, got into a tense exchange after Mike and Dan T., these were the two quote-unquote employee relations associates, hammered the point that ALU is an unauthorized third party, i.e. a union, getting in between the supposedly strong direct relationship between Amazon and its workers. A Status Coup is reported on the ground from Amazon's Staten Island warehouse in recent months. Workers revealed a horrid picture vastly different from a strong, direct relationship between Amazon and employees, one that included sweltering heat inside the warehouse, leading to workers being carted off on stretchers, workers operating under extreme productivity quotas and constant threats of termination, lack of social distancing and other safety precaution amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, female workers being sexually harassed by male managers, full-time homeless workers sleeping in their cars outside the warehouse, again, full-time Amazon workers, homeless, sleeping in their cars outside the warehouse, and a consistent siren of ambulances coming to and from the warehouse, whisking workers away. I know a story about one worker that I'm not going to get into because that worker has chosen not to go public yet, and I have to respect it. But this story about this worker is one of the worst employer malfeasance stories you will ever find or ever hear about. And I'm hoping that one day this worker will go public about what happened, because I know what happened. But as a journalist, I need to respect that the conversations, that the details about what happened to this worker was off the record. Amazon has also littered its massive Staten Island warehouse with anti-union signs, while HR officials improperly confiscated pro-union literature from break rooms. So let's play this part, Colin, from the meeting that we have audio of. And this is from, I don't know who it is. They didn't identify themselves, but this is a worker who identifies as a member of the Amazon labor union.
Whenever you have feedback or suggestion or any thoughts you want to share, first talk to your manager first. But if the issue, the feedback is not heard, don't feel you're stuck there. Feel free to escalate to another level, to the general manager or the regional director. So all feel free to shoot any questions to me after the presentation. We get to answer any questions you may have. So thank you.
Speaking about that,
Yeah.
I'm part of the ALU,
Okay.
and we are not a third party because under the National Relations Labor Board law, every employee has the right to organize under federal law. And that means that Amazon has the right to recognize that. And we are compromised of current Amazon workers that's doing this being in a union town. That is New York City. It is not right that Amazon is calling ALU a third party.
So that's this worker. I think it's a male worker. This worker was going at it throughout this half-hour meeting with the two HR officials. So there's other parts, and in response to that, one of the HR officials says, "I appreciate your input and perspective." So they were basically just trying him to shut the fuck up. Tan responded before again stressing that the ALU is a separate legal entity, not under the umbrella of Amazon. Mike, the other employee relations official, grew testy in response to the worker challenging Amazon's HR's anti-union messaging. Colin, do you have this part? Hold on.
No, I don't have that part.
Okay, I'll read it to you then. So this is from Mike, and you'll just have to trust it for me. Mike is one of the employee relations people. By the way, from what I've heard from Amazon workers working there, most of these HR peoples holding these, quote, peak training meetings are from out of state. So Amazon is flying in HR officials. This guy, Dan, who is one of the people leading the meetings, HR official, he's from Chicago. I don't know where this guy Mike is from because he didn't give his last name. But according to other workers, most of the HR officials that are leading these daily mandatory sessions are from out of state. Mike was growing testy with this worker who was basically saying, we're not a third party, we're Amazon workers. And we don't have the audio, but I want to bring it back to your first statement about ALU not being a third party. They're 100%. The ALU as an identity is a third party. Members of the ALU could also be employed at Amazon, such as yourself, right? It is legally okay to be employed at one place and be a member of another identity. But the ALU as an organization is not part of Amazon, even though Amazon is in their title. The ALU as an identity and as what they filed as a union is not part of Amazon. So they are a third party. So this is a common union busting tactic, and they just keep on beating the drum about third party, and they're going to interfere with our wonderful direct relationship. And, we have such a great direct relationship. And if there is an issue, you don't need a union. You could just go to your manager. And these are all things that they were saying in this meeting. Again, the full half-hour audio, if you want to listen to the whole thing, is at the bottom of this Substack story. So you're free to listen to the whole thing. But they just kept beating the drum, the scary third party. They're going to interfere with our wonderful relationship. They're going to make you pay dues. They could fine you and all these things. So later on in the meeting, Tan, one of the HR people, stressed that ALU is not authorized to speak for Amazon, and as a union could charge workers dues, fees, and fines in exchange for representing the workers. Do we have this part, Colin?
I appreciate your input and your perspective. Like Amazon, we talk about a third party is ALU is an entity, legally organized entity. At the same time, Amazon also another one legally organized entity. By this definition, so ALU is not under Amazon umbrella.
And
Not
then
your specific individual situation. I want to bring it back to your first statement about ALU not being a third party. They're 100%.
Yeah, keep playing that.
The ALU as an identity is a third party. It's Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act. I'm very familiar with it.
So
you do have the right to organize, and which you can do that.
we could have the name Amazon on it,
You can.
but
I can also open a container store and call it Amazon Containers. That doesn't mean I'm part of Amazon. So the ALU as a business, as an identity, is a third party. It is not part of Amazon as a company. That's the whole point of it.
Amazon as a company doesn't protect its workers.
Well, thank you for sharing your perspective and experience. We're going to get
All right, you can come out. So basically, this goes back and forth with this worker. The worker, I think, shares a story about Amazon not providing this worker and other workers with medical accommodations for whatever their worker needs are. But you could hear in that HR official who, this whole meeting is about how wonderful the relationship is, our direct, efficient, effective relationship. It seems like he's getting pretty testy with a worker daring to challenge this propaganda, because that's what it is. It's propaganda. You're never going to hear audio of this on CNN, on MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos. Of course not. Frankly, Amazon is a sponsor of all those networks. I've seen this one commercial over and over and over again with this guy. I don't even know. He says, I started out at Amazon and I had nothing. And Amazon put me through nursing school. And then at the end, they show him on the beach and like a sunset and how wonderful things are. That's called good PR, because that ain't the case for most Amazon workers. And by the way, shame on Terry Crews. Terry Crews, who did a propaganda commercial for Amazon, working in the warehouse and tossing boxes to others. It's absurd. It's absurd. My wife says I yell at the TV every time that commercial comes on. So I don't know if they have a great direct relationship. This meeting doesn't sound like a great direct relationship. It sounds like a lot of union busting, lies, propaganda, borderline illegal intimidation to try and stop a union from forming. I'll continue. By signing either an electronic or physical one, meaning a union card, you could be authorizing the ALU to speak for you, and you could be obligated to pay the union dues, he said. So it's always the messaging is, they could take ownership from you and they could take your voice and you'll have no voice in the workplace, like they have a voice now. And, you're going to have to pay dues, and, they could fine you and all this shit. It's interesting because they call these peak training meetings. And in the beginning, they go through a list of all the great benefits of working at Amazon, but very quickly they get into the Amazon labor union. So it's almost like the whole entire purpose for this meeting is not really to inform workers of their rights, but to inform them away from signing a card expressing support to hold a union vote. Colin, do we have this? Amazon is playing the trick of delaying the process of a union election.
Yeah, just one sec.
No problem. By the way, this is a half hour of recording of a meeting, and Colin's been doing 25 things today. So, it's kind of hard to cut specific clips with time codes because he doesn't have time to go through the whole thing. Paul, Jordan has become deeply schooled on American jobs. I try. I've become deeply schooled in the American New Gilded Age and the United Corporations of America. That I have. Continue when you have it, Colin. If you don't have it, I could just read it.
Yeah, the last one I want to touch base on the open door policy.
I think I have it, but I just can't find it.
That's fine. So the worker who has been getting into it with HR officials throughout the meeting says Amazon is playing the trick of delaying the process of a union election like they do with every legal process with every single employee. The worker who had challenged the HR officials previously contended. So this part is kind of like the most contentious. Do you have the lies, pure lies?
So the ALU, as a business, as an identity, is a third party. It is not part of Amazon as a company.
Doesn't protect its workers.
Well, thank you for sharing your perspective and experience. We're going to get through the slides and open up for more comments. Again, appreciate your perspective, sir. We're going to get through this.
Lies. Pure lies.
Yep.
So, can you play the end again? Lies, pure lies. That was good. I enjoyed that.
So, well, thank you for sharing your perspective and experience. We're going to get through the slides and open up for more comments. Through this,
lies. Pure lies.
Yep.
Ah, wonderful. I think I know who that is now. The worker. I think his name's Jason. But so yeah, I mean, that whole meeting, it was pretty much one worker kind of going back and forth. I know the audio that Vice had, they went back and forth. Several workers went back and forth with these HR officials. Let me read the rest of this story. Last week, ALU withdrew their union vote petition after the National Labor Relations Board told the group that it needed to secure more signatures from workers expressing support for holding a union election. Christian Smalls, a fired Amazon worker and whistleblower who is one of ALU's leaders, tweeted that the group had submitted over 2,000 pro-union signatures, but due to Amazon's extremely high employee turnover and the company firing a lot of the workers who had signed the union cards, ALU fell short of the threshold to hold a union vote that the National Labor Relations Board. So in English, according to Christian Smalls, some other workers I spoke to said this too, Amazon basically fired a good chunk of the workers that signed on to the union cards, which I'm not a labor expert. Sounds illegal to me to fire workers who signed on to the union. But if those workers no longer work there, they can't be counted in terms of whatever number you need to hit to hold a union vote. As I pointed out, Amazon isn't the only corporate Goliath currently waging a scorched earth anti-union campaign. As Status Coup recently covered on the ground in Buffalo, New York, Starbucks executives have held similar union busting meetings with its workforce amidst their union drive. The NLRB ruled in favor of a union election for 3 Starbucks locations in Buffalo. Election ballots were sent out on November 10th, despite Starbucks appealing to the National Labor Relations Board in Washington to try and get them to overrule the regional New York board's approval to hold the election. Most recently, Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, led a meeting with workers at a Buffalo hotel in which he offered a bizarre analogy describing prisoners in German concentration camps. I should have added camps. In German concentration camps, having to share the scarce amount of blankets with one another during a union busting presentation. So for some reason, Howard Schultz thought it would be a good idea to bring up the Nazi camps and Jews having to share the very few blankets that were provided in a discussion trying to steer Starbucks workers away from unionizing. So it's getting pretty thick in terms of Amazon union busting and Starbucks union busting. And by the way, you don't hear about this much because Joe Biden's full of shit. He's not really pro-union. He never was a union man. Throughout the campaign, throughout his career, he's accepted money from some of the worst union busting companies like Comcast, financial law firms that actually part of their law is union busting services and legal services for union busting companies. I mean, if we had real media and real journalists in this country, they would have exposed Biden for the fraud he is. So Biden's not going to push real labor reform. The PRO Act is sitting there in Congress that, according, if you talk to labor experts, could be transformational. But if you just looked at the $3.5 trillion reconciliation deal, which was stripped down to basically a coupon to Denny's, this $3.5 trillion reconciliation deal that is still not passed, that has been whittled down, we think, to $1.75 trillion. I'm not going to blame it completely on the progressives, but I think they played it completely wrong. I think Bernie Sanders, AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, all of them from the beginning should have been on offense against Joe Manchin, against Kirsten Sinema, frankly, against Biden. They should have been holding rallies, pressuring and shaming Joe Manchin. Same for Kirsten Sinema, but they didn't. Ro Khanna, in an interview right here, I appreciate him coming on and taking the questions, which were tough. He told me he didn't think that would make a difference to hold massive rallies, calling out Joe Manchin's donors, calling out the fact that he's made millions of dollars from a coal company he owns while stripping legislation down to remove desperately needed climate proposals. I guess Kirsten Sinema has no shame, so they felt, let's not go to Arizona. Let's not call out the money she is just hoarding in from big pharma, from dark money groups, from lobbyists. They didn't feel the need. So we're not going to get the PRO Act because look what we're getting in terms, the infrastructure deal to me There's some good things, but it's a joke. It's mostly privatization, selling off public waterways, public sewer systems, public transportation to private companies, and taking that revenue to build new infrastructure. That's called asset recycling, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a reconciliation deal, maybe by Christmas or Hanukkah, because I'm a Jew. If we get it, I mean, it's going to be a shell of what it should have been. And, you know, I think Democrats by the polls are going to get politically murdered in 2022. I think they're going to lose the House. I think they're going to lose the Senate. And, you know, it might steamroll from there to 2024 and, you know, President DeSantis or some other right-wing extremist lunatic. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But I want to play a little bit more because this whole meeting in the beginning was about Amazon's incredible direct relationship, right? Their direct, wonderful relationship with the workers. Well, let's, Colin, if you could play that other clip I asked you to cut. Let's hear a little bit more about the great direct relationship with Amazon and its workers, that this wonderful direct relationship, it's so great, there is no need for a union, according to Amazon and the HR officials that were holding these union busting sessions. And, I also want to talk about something because, you know, I'm a journalist. Corporations lying is not breaking news. They lie all the time. They either try to get you to talk to them off the record so that they could steer you away and try to get you to not do a story, or they want to talk to you on background, which basically is them feeding you a bunch of bullshit, you reporting that bullshit with no attribution to them. So off the record, we want to stop you from reporting it. On background, we want to give you spin. So I reported, I don't know, last week or the week before, you got workers fainting in here. You got workers being carted off on carts. You got people complaining on the message boards that it's 78 to 80 degrees inside. So I reported on it. I posted some of the comments from Amazon's VOA board, and Amazon responded to me. Really? Yeah, they responded. Let me get that. Amazon told me that they had some temperature controlled system, blah, 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 blah. The whole warehouse is air conditioned. People actually prefer being inside because of the air condition. And when I pushed back, they said, Jordan, I have given you accurate, attributable, and on-the-record information so that you could present actual facts to your readers. Your source information, so the workers are the sources, is false. And you've been made aware of this fact. Your continued practice of knowingly reporting inaccurate information is unprofessional, and as a result, this is my last email to you. So what I found interesting about that is, number one, it's not like one source. I'm talking to a lot of workers, and I got screenshots of workers complaining on the digital board about how hot it was. So I wrote back, so you're saying all these workers are lying? Are you saying these messages that I got are fakes? And they didn't respond. So you're take the audience inside. What are the conditions in here? How hot is it inside? And what are they doing about how hot it is inside?
Wiring is coming down from the ceiling and blocking the pods from getting to people. Things are melting. Things are not working. Like, seriously, the robotics are not working. We don't have Wi-Fi in there to call for help. The waters that they're trying to hand out, if they hand them out at all, are cloudy and they taste like plastic. We don't know how long they've been sitting there. Nobody drinks them. And the water coolers are completely out of water because everyone's going to the water coolers. It's a bad deal. But we're still being timed by the millisecond. People are coming out of their stations. They're complaining to their managers, and their managers are telling them it's all right, try to hold on a little bit longer, get back to work. No, you can't take additional breaks, which according to the OSHA laws, you are allowed additional breaks in extreme heat and extreme weather.
This is Natalie, who's also an Amazon worker. We were talking when I reported this, and you said from the moment you're inside, you're dripping, soaking wet. Can you kind of talk about, all I see is fans, which would be blowing hot air back on workers, and they didn't actually give me any proof that workers are lying. So can you kind of talk about you and others? If you're soaking right when you get in there, that means it's basically a boiler room.
Right. I had actually had some fans placed into some of the sort stations where the section I work at probably about 6 months ago. And it was only after I filed a work comp case last year saying that the reason that some of the sorters were dropping packages on themselves, really heavy ones, is because especially in the afternoon it was so hot, especially during the summertime. So it was only because of the work comp case and my statement that they went ahead and gave fans, but the small fans they gave us are so filthy and dirty that you can actually smell and taste the dirt coming off the fan. So when I walked around the ship dock area, there were only a few large fans, but they were placed in front of computer tech workers and managers who stand at a desk all day and don't do much of anything. So those large fans are not being used for the actual workers who are really, really sweating to death in there.
And what's interesting to me, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, HR's offices, they're good. They got nice AC, people are wearing hoodies. So how does the temperature controlled system work fine there, but not where the actual workers are basically slaving away for 12 hours?
Exactly. When you walk into the HR office at the front of the warehouse, where all the administrative staff is, safety, loss control, HR people, some of the executives, it feels about 20 degrees cooler. You walk in and you feel the cold air hitting you, and every time I walk in I say, wow, this is where they keep the air conditioning. Because the second you leave the HR office, it's hot, it's dirty, it's dusty, it's filthy. And especially if you have to work on the second, third, or fourth floors, heat rises. So it was most of the cases we had last week of people fainting and getting nosebleeds. Some of them did happen on the ship dock, but most of them were happening on the upper floors.
And, to be clear, I don't know what each ambulance was here for, but I've spoken with enough workers. You're out here all day. Can you kind of talk about that you've been seeing ambulances going in and out of there at significantly greater rates recently?
Yeah, absolutely. In the last month, I would say, I can't even keep up with how many we've seen come to the building. It's like every week there's another one coming. 1 week in particular, there's about 4 ambulances, I think 2 or 3 in one day, just from the amount of heat. It was definitely during the heat wave last week. It was 95 out here. I was out here in 95. I actually sometimes post when I'm out here in the tent. I post the temperature on purpose to show people I'm out here in 95-degree weather. You can imagine when it is in there where they have a 16-mile conveyor system that's running 24/7. And the machinery that's rising and causing the heat to rise, especially on the upper floors. I know because I've been in there and I know what these workers are going through. So these are actual facts, and for them to say otherwise is ridiculous. It's sad, and it's telling you once again how they disregard the workers' health and safety.
If you believe in a higher power, that higher power is talking right now, because this is inhumane. And by the way, all this talk federally, the economy is roaring back, everything's going back to normal, wages are rising, all this stuff. Well, I don't know. What they're describing doesn't sound so normal to me. It sounds like an economic Hunger Games, if you've seen the Hunger Games. You got a whole lot of different things going on here. But one thing that I've noticed, as a journalist, it's hard to get people on the record. But with Amazon, it's very hard. Workers are terrified here to speak with journalists, to speak out publicly. I mean, I'm not going to get into discussions, but I've spoken with people off the record. And the things they've told me are even worse than what I'm reporting here. Just ethically, I can't talk about it because it was off the record. But they're lying to journalists. They're retaliating against female black employees. And they're basically putting the fear of God in workers. So it's kind of like, other than organizing and unionizing, workers are basically just dealing with this heat, dealing with these oppressive conditions because they're terrified of losing their jobs.
Exactly. People have mortgages, houses, apartments to support families to provide for. And Amazon psychologically gets so much into your head that you feel like there's nothing else. And if you lose this job, that's the end of it. And you will be buried 6 feet under because nobody else will hire you or something like that. Amazon is really, it's one of those things that, you don't want to mess with until you mess with them. And then you're all in. And you know you're going to be all in.
Sounds like you're talking about the mob here.
It pretty much is.
Yeah. So how's that for the amazing, direct relationship between Amazon and its workers that we heard all about in that union busting meeting that we obtained audio from? So this is what's going on. And make no mistake about it. These Amazon workers that are putting up a really good fight to get the National Labor Relations Board to give the go-ahead for a union vote, to try and get the majority of workers in a mega warehouse the size of 15 football fields. This warehouse in Staten Island is. It is very David versus Goliath, because again, I've been there several times. Relatively, it's a lot of young workers, a lot of black and brown workforce. I've spoken with some of them that don't have a lot of other options for work. Amazon hires a lot of kids out of high school without anything on their resume, so they are impressionable to these union busting meetings, to union busting messaging. They don't know, and this is not a knock on them. A lot of older workers, much less younger workers, don't really know their rights in terms of federal labor law or state labor law. So they're listening to Amazon, and it could be intimidating. I think from what I've heard, Amazon has also pushed that they might have to, restrict the workforce, cut the workforce if a union passes. So it is going to be an uphill climb to get a union in Staten Island or any Amazon, but you got to give these workers credit. And obviously Amazon's scared, judging by the audio of that meeting that we obtained at Status Coup, because they would not be holding daily mandatory union busting meetings if everything was fine and there was no threat of a union. So we're going to keep covering this as best as we can. Like I said, I got the COVID booster yesterday, so I'm not really feeling terrific. I wasn't sure if I was going to go live today because I feel kind of fluish, which, after you get the shot, you could have, kind of feel sick because of the immune response. I got it yesterday. I was eligible for it because COVID gave me asthma, pretty bad asthma, actually, on and off for 6 months. I've been coughing because according to my doctor, I have irritation in my lungs from COVID. So it gave me this kind of dry heave and I cough a lot. So unfortunately, but I have asthma, but I was able to get the shot yesterday. I think there's talk about them making it available to all age groups, the booster, as soon as next week, I believe. But I was able to get it yesterday. I'm not interested in getting in a debate with anti-vaxxers or people who say you don't need it. I got it. And that's it. So that's about all I got for today. Please, please, please support Status Coup's independent investigative journalism. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Obviously, there are some changes going on at Status Coup behind the scenes, but as best as we can, we're still going to try and cover important stories on the ground. We're going to try our best to keep the flow of content going as best as we can. But we need to continue growing our paid membership that helps fund this reporting, investigative reporting, funding field trips, reporting on the road. So please, please, please support us if you can. Statuscoup.com/join. I don't have an exact date. We're going to try our best. There's a lot going on right now behind the scenes. Going to try our best to do a members call before Thanksgiving. I don't want to promise you it because there's just a lot going on right now behind the scenes. And obviously that would really just leave tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, because a members call the night before Thanksgiving wouldn't make a lot of sense. So if we don't do it before Thanksgiving, it'll be after Thanksgiving. Also tomorrow, if you have it, we will be exclusive on Rockfin, 4:00 Eastern, with Graham Elwood will be joining us. Graham Elwood, the political no, he's not. Is he no, what's his show called? Totally hate that I'm blanking. But Graham Elwood will be joining us 4:00 Eastern for our exclusive Rockfin broadcast. You do need to be a Status Coup Rockfin member to watch this one. Again, we're exclusive on Rockfin once a week, and we're still trying to grow at Rockfin. So we appreciate everyone who's been signing up for our Rockfin premium. That's rockfin.com/statuscoup. Oh, political vigilante. He is. Okay. Sorry about that. So from the text messages Graham and I have been doing, I think it's going to be a spicy show. So sign up if you can. That's $9.99 a month to join Rockfin Premium through Status Coup. So you have to sign up at rockfin.com/Status Coup. You'll get access to our premium channels like Graham. He has a premium channel. There's a whole, I think Ron Falcone. There's a whole lot of people with premium channels on Rockfin, but Rockfin is really helping us grow and fund on the ground reporting because we get, A, we're able to cover whatever the hell we want on Rockfin. There's no censorship. B, we get a flat guaranteed amount from Rockfin every month. And as we grow and get more subscribers on Rockfin, that amount might go up. And frankly, the reporting you've seen over the last couple of weeks, the road trip we took in Iowa, Illinois, and Buffalo, reporting we did before that required travel, Rockfin and the revenue we're earning from Rockfin has been instrumental in funding that. So please, if it's within your means, sign up, rockfin.com/Status Coup. If you can't, we totally understand. But we really appreciate all the folks that have been signing up at rockfin.com/Status Coup. Believe we're over 100 premium members on Rockfin. We'd love to keep pushing. And I know it's not cheap, $9.99 a month for a lot of people. They can't do it. So for those, if you can't, totally get it. You won't be able to see us live on these exclusive live streams, but we do cut some of the clips shorter and post on YouTube. So thank you for watching. I am going to go try and take a nap because I don't feel terrific, but we will be live. I will be live on YouTube right before the Rockfin stream tomorrow, around probably 3:45 East Coast time. And then we'll go live with Graham at 4:00 Eastern right there on Rockfin. Please, statuscoup.com/join. That is our main business model. You could sign up as low as $5 a month, help fund this reporting, the Amazon reporting, the Starbucks reporting, the Flint reporting. I'll be able to tell the members a little bit more about that, but there's some movement on Flint. So I'll be able to tell you about that too. Please support us movement as far as our reporting on the Flint water crisis and cover up. So please sign up if you can, statuscoup.com/join. And also sign up for free right now at Status Coup Substack. So that's Status Substack. Colin, if you could show the folks what Status Substack looks like and the article, you just go to Status Substack and there is, I'm in the admin, but I think if you go to Status Substack, it's pretty straightforward. Oh, subscribe right there. So you could subscribe for free and read our free articles there. You could also subscribe for $5 to be a Status Substack member. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Jordan, there's too many things. Status Coup membership and Rockfin and Status Substack. Totally get it. The truth is, because of the suppression on YouTube, we have to diversify. We have to create different revenue streams, Substack, Rockfin, YouTube, to survive. I mean, that's the truth. So, totally understand. Status Coup membership is our top business model. So if you could only do one, statuscoup.com/join. Thank you for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Probably here around 3:45 Eastern as a teaser, and then at 4:00 Eastern right there on Rockfin's Status Coup channel. Take care.